Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Philip Alva Henderson, and today I would like to just have a conversation with
Matt Martin.
And what I'd like to call this is Chewing the Fat with Phil. Now, let's make it Chewing the Fat with Phil. That way it's easier to look up on the internet. We won't use the W and the hyphen or whatever, but anyway, getting on camera, there's a couple of things that I want to say that I almost promised myself I'd say if I ever got on camera. Number one is, hi, Mom. Number two is, and this involves everybody in the production of these and everybody that had to sacrifice in order to make these men what they were. Okay, but anyway, I always promised myself to say, Mr. Hanks, Mr. Spielberg, I consider Band of Brothers a masterpiece. To the Coen brothers, I watched No Country with Old Men probably about 10 times now, and all I can say is, I'm not worthy. How did you pull that one off? What was the other thing I was going to say? Oh yeah. To Mr. Richards, I consider you a rock god. And last but not least, to, can you get me while I'm standing up, because I need to stand up for this one. Well, it doesn't matter. To Admiral Nimitz, may you rest in peace, sir. And with that, let's go ahead and start our conversation here. Now, I want you to know that this does not represent any brand, any political affiliation, whatever legalese that you might need to say that we're not funded by anybody. This is in my friend's kitchen. And since we're just chewing the fat with Phil, if you see any products on here that happen to be of a specific origin, just because we use them. Now, whoops, my cell phone went off, but I think you can probably wait. So, anyway, we're going to make this about an hour. How do we keep track of the time? I could have used my cell phone that I just threw there.
We're going to be about 45 before we have a break, because I gotta.
Sounds good to me. I ain't the director. So anyway, what's your name?
Matt Martin.
I'm Adam Phil.
Hey Phil, how's it going today?
Actually, it's going quite well. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, I've had a productive day already. It's pretty good. I went and filmed. I did some photographs at a horse show.
Really?
Yeah, I was way up north, 7th Avenue, and Carefree Highway.
That's way up north, yeah, from where we are. Where are we right now? We're in Phoenix, Arizona?
Phoenix, yeah. We're close to, I say 44th Street in Thomas.
Yeah, anybody in Phoenix knows where that is. And
44th used to be the main drag to the airport back in the day.
Yeah, I do, because I'm delivering pizzas right now, so. And I used to live right over there, right across the street at the Sun King Apartments.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, Matt, I've met you. We really haven't known each other long, so I'd like to get to know you.
All right.
Now, careful, everybody. I'm going to ask questions that might be sensitive, but feel free to change. Feel free to hit the stop button at any time, because this is just chewing the fat with Phil. That's it. So if you don't mind, I'd like to find out a few things about you. Matt, where were you born?
I was born in Phoenix, September 6th at 9:30 a.m.
I had no idea what time I was born.
9:23, sorry.
What year?
Round up. 1982.
1982, man, I'm a lot older than you. I was born in 67, but that's neither here nor there. And feel free to ask me any questions anytime too, because you don't really know anything about me, so, but I'll get the ball rolling here. Do you know what your ethnicity is, like generations back?
My mother's side, I'm Scottish and English, and then father's side, German.
So kind of an American mutt, would you say?
Oh yeah. We came here, my father's side came here in 1853.
Boy, that's way back there.
So they've been here for a while. And where were you born?
Fresno, California.
All right.
8/25/67.
Okay. When did you, what's your ethnicity?
I'm an American mutt. I've got, let's see.
Most of us are.
I don't know. You'd have to ask my Mormon relatives. They're better at genealogy than I am. But what I know that I'm pretty much dirt farmer on one side, long many ways back, and by no means am I talking trash about dirt farmers. Because my favorite part of my childhood was working on a chicken ranch at my grandfather's.
So you were living on a ranch?
Lindsay. And then on the other side, I know that my great grandfather, Alvin Henderson, was full-blooded Cherokee Indian, I believe. And but obviously I'm not full-blooded Indian, but I do have jet black hair, and I am kind of, I'm 48 years old. I'm not in that bad of shape. I think that's kind of an Indian trait, but that's just what I think. Anyway,
The chicken farm. So you used to grow up on a chicken farm.
I didn't grow up there. I would go there on the summers, sometimes for 2 weeks. I'd get dropped off there by my mom, and I'd get the opportunity to work with my grandfather, James Clark Cranston. Probably, I would call him my idol. And he was just a hard-working man. Built like a truck, good Mormon man. And we worked, and it was exciting for me. We'd sleep out on the patio and get up in the morning and go collect eggs and run. I got to drive a little three-wheeler really young because he'd use it to pull irrigation line. And he had a beat-up old truck, and he had stuff from who knows what years, and he would just work and get it to work. And my favorite story I like to tell about my grandfather is that he and I were working one time, and he went like that and ripped his arm open, and he went and kept working. And I think that says volumes about the man. How about you?
Childhood? Is that kind of the topic?
Yeah, if you want it to be.
I grew up, we had horses. So I had a pony, black and white pony named Dancer. And I remember my grandparents, Grace and Kent Martin, were in town the weekend it passed away.
The weekend your pony passed away?
Yeah.
You were where?
They were in town. They're from Wisconsin.
I'm sorry, but who was from Wisconsin? I was thinking of something else.
Grace and Kent Martin, grandparents.
Ah, okay.
So they were in town. I just, my grandpa just passed away 2 months ago? A month ago?
Oh, my condolences.
Thanks. It was interesting. Like, I got to talk to him, and he ended up retiring with quite a bit of money for someone that really only made like, I don't know, $15,000 a year.
Sounds like he was pretty frugal.
Yeah. Frugal, good investments. They knew where every dollar went. There's like notes, and my dad was telling me about in the apartment of like they tracked every dollar they spent, which is a good way to start a budget. So that was a life lesson that I've taken. And so I pretty much, if I can do mine like really quick. So we had a pony. I started playing soccer, basketball, baseball. I liked playing baseball, stayed with that for a little bit.
Man, you start talking athletics, we can spend this whole hour talking athletics. I love sports.
Okay.
In fact, a lot of people know this about me, but my uncle, my mom's side of the family, was the starting cornerback, number 46, Billy Baird, for the Jets when they won the Super Bowl, and then he was the defensive backfield coach under Walt Michaels.
Oh wow!
And
awesome.
so I got to experience a lot of hands-on sports, and I've coached sports, and coaching kids sports is exciting and rewarding. And I love sports, but anyway, you were saying?
Well, I guess I love sports too. My career path went to dirt bikes, and then I quit playing baseball.
Dirt bikes?
Yeah. I started doing motocross, and I did races for a while and did a few of the local circuits. And then I eventually, I think I broke my leg, and I kind of got done racing and started looking at how you could make money doing it. And I had some friends that were doing freestyle motocross.
When you broke your leg, was there any long-term or permanent damage?
No, I had a rod in there for a while, and then I had to get shoulder surgery. So while I was under, I had them take the rod out also. So,
it sounds like a pretty serious crash there.
Yeah, that was a different crash.
You were back together with bubble gum and beer cans, and it sounds like it was a pretty serious crash.
It was pretty. I still remember that. I was in Cottonwood, and it was a rain race. My front brake was broke, so I took my front brake off, and I came over their finish line jump, and there was like the tractor had dug out the berm, and it was a left-handed berm. And where it had dug out the berm, there was still a wall of dirt, so you had to go around this wall of dirt, and I went right into that wall of dirt, flipped over the handlebars, my right leg cleared the bars, my left leg went right on the shin across the bars. They were like, well, you basically broke it as if somebody had taken a baseball bat and hit your leg. And yeah, I looked down, my leg was doing an L at the shin.
So you're a little screwed up, as they say?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I had a sense of humor. I mean, I remember I was making jokes throughout it, and pain really didn't set in when I looked down and saw what had happened. I was shaking a lot, so I was actually more in shock than I was in pain.
I got a funny story for you on this, since we're on this subject. I'm at my son's friend's BMX birthday party, and I'm like, if the kids can ride the BMX, I can ride the BMX too. I had this beat up Target, like I said, no holds barred, so I got it from Target. And it was a good bike, I mean, for the price. But we go down, there's this one part, and I've gone around it a couple times, and I'm thinking I'm pretty, I got this thing. And I go down that first ramp, and when it started to come back up like this, the front things I was holding on to went whoop. And I went face down like this, and I stood up, and my fingers were like, bow. And I was like, oh, but no big deal. It's just my fingers. It's no big deal. And here's the embarrassing part. I went into shock. I'm like, it's just my fingers. No big deal. No big deal. Next thing you know, I'm going, whoa. And unfortunately, the moms were there to say, sit down. Mm-hmm. And they sent me out to a hospital and put my fingers back together. I've always fashioned myself somewhat of a tough guy. But I broke my fingers and went into shock. So anyway.
Well, I like that, tough guy. I had this old timer call me up recently, and he was just telling me, he's like, I never win a fight. I never know how to lose a fight with dignity. Mm. And I was like, that's interesting. Like, when I think back.
So is he just a punching bag? Is that what you're saying?
I guess so. Like that. I guess that's what he's presenting himself as. Like, and that makes sense. Like, I would present myself as, like, I think of the emotional punching bag.
Well, I think I had one of those as a kid, and it was an Everlast punching bag that I bought from Big Five, hung on top of a pull-up bar. I punched the shit out of it.
It's good exercise.
I was obviously had a little bit of pent-up something or other in there. I don't think it takes Sigmund Freud to figure that one out, but I punched the crap out of that thing.
Oh yeah, that removes a lot of aggression and anger. And I think that's what he was trying to get at with me. Is he's like, oh, you have this, that I have an inner anger and an inner aggression that I'm not dealing with. And I've been pretty peaceful. I just kind of have closed off a lot of doors to my life and tried to open new ones.
I personally am jealous of that. For some reason, I seem to be a warrior.
How do you mean?
I won't stop. I keep moving forward. And fortunately, I fight for the cause of good, but I can't get myself to slow down. I keep fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. I don't know if it's genetics or spiritual or whatever, but I can't stop fighting forward. Fortunately, I'm getting older, so I'm learning how to not fight with my fists, but more with my head.
Yeah.
But I can't slow it down. I mean, it just is what it is. I just had to channel it some way. And fortunately, I decided to channel it for the cause of good. Let's go ahead and move it along a little bit here. Let's see how controversial we can make this puppy.
All right.
We all have our influences. The way I look at it is it's not 7.5 or 8 billion people on the planet. It's 7.5 or 8 billion individuals on the planet. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is learn about you as an individual. This is an interesting political time for us in the United States. I mean, we've got Donald Trump on one side, and we've got Hillary Clinton on the other side. How do you feel about that?
My stance usually on politics is that it's not going to make a change in my life. Like, it's going to come back to me and what I can do for myself. And
So
other
would you
people.
consider yourself somewhat of an individualist? Would that be the best way to describe it?
Yeah. Yeah, very self-sufficient in that sense of it's going
Kind
to
of a
come.
Grizzly Adams kind of thing, or
Yeah. Yeah, a little Grizzly Adams. I think I haven't really followed much of it, and I've just been hearing everything. I think it's going to be an interesting decision on who becomes the next president. I've heard people tell me that the Democratic Party will be a better party to keep in place. I kind of like being the capitalist idea, so I kind of like Trump on that side.
yeah, the way I look at it, I try to remain a neutral observer of politics. And I see we're both, I mean, on one side we have a woman who obviously has political experience,
So that's
president's wife,
interesting to
great
me. I
years.
guess like the fact that she's a woman doesn't really
Well,
pop out to me. Like
I
now that you
consider
say
it a
that, I'm
factor.
like,
I mean,
oh,
that's half
yeah,
the
it's
that's half the
first
population
female.
of the planet, right?
Right.
If a little more than half the population is what I've heard. So that's a factor. The other factor is she was the president's wife for 8 years. She's been Secretary of State, an accomplished lawyer. I could go on and on. Now, Trump, on the other hand, is an accomplished capitalist. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
And some people are going, how is Donald Trump being the Republican representative? What the heck's going on here? And the way I look at it, instead of passing judgment, I try to see what is it the American people are trying to say by having Donald Trump be the right-wing representative. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't judge people on their political views. I try to figure out what it means. So what do you think the American people are trying to say when it looks like Donald Trump is going to be the representative of the Republican Party come election time?
I've heard enough of like our debt and the idea that it's such a big number that most people can't even fathom how in debt we are.
So you think it has to do with capitalism?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it has to do with the idea that he knows how to get some more money back into the country. And although
So do you feel like that the most important thing in our country is business?
I think we are, yeah. Yeah, I would say yes.
That's an interesting point of view.
Yeah.
Now, on the left wing, as they call it, you have Hillary Clinton. What do you think she represents?
It's a tough call. For me, like you said, she's kind of married to the ex-president,
Mm-hmm.
so it's hard to separate whether or not they're bringing Bill Clinton in. That if we vote for Hillary, we also get Bill Clinton back again.
Interesting.
So, and
They
from
are
what I
husband and
heard
wife,
is
so I'm
that-
guessing they might chat a little politics here and there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And and the big thing I'd heard from Clinton that was phenomenal was that he really helped our budget and increased, like, he managed the budget. But what I'd also heard is that he really didn't do, what he did to manage that was the budget was on 8 books, and then he made 16 books, and then spread it out between 16 books.
All right, you're speaking economics, which flies a little over my head because it's not a major interest of mine. You're saying that, okay, Bill Clinton made 8 books, then had 16 books, and carry the 2. Let's see, 8 times 16 is what that is. 2, 3, 100, whatever.
So the way I see it is, like, if you have 1 book, and on this book you owe $100, you just made 2 books, and now you only owe $50. You technically still owe $50, but that's on another book. So we can close 1 book until we open that other one up again.
Well, the way I look at it is, technically speaking, that's confusing.
Yes.
Okay, so what I've noticed, being a big fan of the Constitution that I am, and proud American because it's my heritage, it seems to me like in order for the ACLU to agree with Title 9 of the NCAA's NFL prerequisite experience that you have to ask a satellite beam to hit off a dish in India in order for it to get to the Filipinos for some cheap labor, and then you've got to be sure it passes by the whatever represents the other ethnicities like Negro and whatnot, or black, I guess is the proper way to say it now. It's called niggas. When I'm hanging with them. And you know what I hear a lot?
I was
Shit.
there.
Here's what I hear a lot. Shit, nigga, you crazy. Okay? But,
So you had a point.
the point being, it's a convoluted mess.
Yeah.
I think this modern world is a convoluted mess. I love the fact that the information superhighway has opened up. That's our gateway to wisdom, and I love modern technology because I think that's what keeps the human race so resilient, is our thing to move forward. But I can't make neither hide nor hair of all this stuff because everything's flying around left and right by a satellite. I mean, some
Right.
religions believe this, some religions believe that. I mean, in our country, it's Title 9, ACLU, Chapter 11.
So I don't think, here's where I'm
monkey's
at. I
uncle
don't think
hanging
many
out
of
your
us
backside.
do. And like if I look at it as, like you were saying, an individual. So like I've never voted. I've just registered to vote and missed the last election. That was a big newsworthy event. in
Why
Arizona.
did you feel like this was the one election you needed to vote for?
I was asked numerous times on a college campus to register to vote.
On a college campus, all right?
So that made it easy for me to register to
Do
vote.
you feel like college is necessary for a successful career?
No, I don't.
Nor do I.
I think all college does is that it gives you a piece of paper that says I can show up and commit to something.
Which is important in the business world.
Right.
Okay?
But that being said, like there's also the idea of workers, because everybody's just working so much, and like
I
recently,
like working.
I'm a workaholic.
As
Like,
am I. Proud of it.
I love working, and that's one of my favorite things to do.
There's something you and I share in common.
But I don't want to. But I also have learned there's a much more of a value and worth to work. Like I hate asking for money for things I do, even if I deserve money for them. Which,
I hate asking. Hold on, run that by me again. That one went in one ear, not the other.
so I don't like to ask for money, even though it is something that somebody wants for me to do, and I don't like to. Does that
Okay,
make
we're on
sense?
the money factor here. Now, this is a
Alright.
not for money thing, but obviously, in our society, we're going to need some money to make this thing work. Would you consider that a fair assessment?
Yeah.
I'd like for Chewing the Fat with Phil to stay free, but I think we'd be fools not to accept donations, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Since you're more financially oriented than I am, can you figure out a way we could make Chewing the Fat with Phil collect donations somehow in this modern world that confuses me so greatly?
So I'm thinking of like several ways. One would be a website. The other would be, let's say you were just going to do a documentary on this, and you were going to
I'm just conversing.
or a web series. Okay, so
Well,
like
okay,
a web
anyway.
series. So
Not my forte, we're talking
whatever
about
your distribution model is going to be, the big thing that we've worked to death at film school has been like Indiegogo, Kickstarter, which are a donation. You start a Kickstarter video, you put that out there, and then you tell it to all your friends, hey, donate money to this thing. And it's really easy to donate the money. You can just put in your debit card, it's safe, it's secure, and you can give them $50. And
All right, now there's smoke starting to come out of my ear.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
'Cause, that sounds all well and good. It's confusing to me.
Well, you need to get a lot of friends. So recently I started doing this multi-level marketing thing, which is selling cheap vacations.
Well, why don't we have you handle the financial aspects of this operation because it's over my head. All right, so let's move on, shall we?
Okay.
What other controversial questions? What do you consider yourself? Are you Hindu, Christian, Catholic, Muslim?
I would
Space
say
alien, what are you?
I'm Catholic because I used to go to church when I was young until I was too little to be dragged and beaten and dragged to the car to go.
Ouch.
Until I got big enough. It's like, I don't
Okay.
want
So you were Catholic until they stopped beating you?
to go. Yeah. It was-
Perplexing.
Yeah. It was a very, very Catholic upbringing in that sense.
All right.
So I kind of say it jokingly, but it was, mom would hit us or we'd be spanked or whipped or whatever. And to go to church or if we made mistakes and things like that. And then she became very spiritual. She actually got breast cancer and...
So, like they say, old World War II saying, there ain't no atheists in a foxhole or something like to that regard.
yeah.
All right.
So, and the spiritual thing's nice, but now it's just kind of a study of all these different religions, so it becomes more of an agnostic. Whereas I like to say I'm not agnostic because I haven't studied every religion to deny every existence of God. If that makes
So
sense.
you believe in God.
Oh, yeah.
All right. You got any questions for me again?
Do you believe in, I'm just kind of on repeat here.
So old.
So do you believe in God? I think you're Mormon. I think you're a Mormon, right? Is that
You're
right?
mistaken.
Okay. So what religion are you then?
I would consider myself a Christian.
Okay.
And here's why. I have a hyper-analytical mind. Okay, it's just the way I was born, the way I was put together. I'm bipolar, and thank you, Dr. Futataki. My medication seems to be working properly.
I've been diagnosed that before too.
So I have kind of a hyper-analytical mind. And so the way I look at it, I've experienced the blessings of God. Okay?
Yeah.
It took me a long time to realize it because I was raised in an environment where God was just like some topic. But I've experienced the blessings of God. And I truly believe there is a higher power. My analytical mind digs and deeps, and I want to see if can find the DNA of a bone or something that prove that Jesus walked the earth and all that kind of stuff. But then I realized that, what are you doing, Phil? All right, let's just go ahead and accept that Jesus walked the earth. All right, because I've seen the positive effect that Christianity has had on people's lives. Now, as far as the Muslim faith and all that, I knew 2 Muslim girls at Trader Joe's, where I worked at for 9 years. Or was it one Muslim girl? It was one Muslim girl, and she told me this story that she and her sisters were excited because they had saved enough money for their mother to go to the Hajj. She was so excited that they had saved money.
What's a Hajj?
I believe, you'll have to check my stats or whatever, I believe the Hajj is the thing that goes on in Mecca, which is considered a blessed sacred event.
Okay.
So therein lies where I'm perplexed again. I've also found out that I was listening to the radio, and something like over 1,000 years ago or 1,000 years ago, the Christians and the Muslims and the Jews used to pray in the same place, but just in different sections. And I thought to myself, how beautiful is that? You know what I mean? That's something that we seem to have lost. Now it seems to be religion against religion. And I'll tell you why this scares me. Is because I've read extensively about World War II. Extensively. It seems to be my security blanket from being a child. And what I noticed is that, well, for one, a couple of countries, unfortunately, Germany and Japan, and I don't judge them for this, I'm just making an observation, seem to have clung to an idol and caused a lot of problems that the United States didn't really want to get involved in, but we finally had to go in and drop the hammer. Now, some people are saying there's potential Armageddon, we're all going to, I don't believe that there's future. I believe that the human is a very resilient animal, and we'll figure out a way to make a rocket shot to Mars or whatever and start a new frontier there. That's just what I believe. But I don't even remember what I was talking about.
What do you think your obsession with World War II is about?
I believe it was from spending a lot of time alone, and I took comfort for some reason in watching the suffering of others. And so it kind of pulled me out of myself and the suffering I was going through. And then it just became a flat out interest. And since I'm bipolar, I would be considered, I guess, somewhat obsessive compulsive. So I never could put it down.
Okay.
And then I decided as I got older to go ahead and look into World War One and Vietnam and the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. And from all the history that I've read, it almost just seems like history is stories of the human animal repeating itself. That human nature just seems to repeat itself in different times, different time periods and whatnot. And I'm sure those that are studied farther back in history than I am could probably find similarities between the wars that were fought then and the potential war that we're fighting now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
So I'm under the belief that there's always going to be war.
I agree. It's in human nature.
Yeah, it's just. And
Kinda like
I'm
the battle.
fascinated with World War II as well. My funny thing was like when we studied that in high school, I remember I failed and I had to take it again. And then after I started riding motocross, I got injured and I was on the couch for about a year with back surgery. And I just took Oxycontin and Percocet. And during that time...
To relieve the pain.
To relieve the pain.
Which is what they're for.
Yeah. But I mean, I was on a very heavy dose, so like to me it's just easier to say I'm a heroin addict because I don't like the idea of if you ever need pain pills again.
You know, in World War II, they carried around syrettes of morphine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, morphine...
Because all of a sudden you noticed your leg was blown off, you were just like, oops, I better have a syringe of morphine.
And that was invented in World War II, if I
I don't
remember?
know.
The most interesting thing I remember about World War II was the BAR, the Browning automatic rifle, the
Yeah,
big bad boy.
Big, badass piece of machinery.
And that they had actually invented that in World War One, and they had just a huge amount of them that they were going to actually put into the operation, but they didn't want the other side to get a hold of that weapon.
Yeah,
So then they kind of held off on it, and then they put it in World War II.
I see.
And with 3 of those, you can basically have suppressing fire by changing the magazines. And
Yeah, the art of war, that's why I'm such a fan of Admiral Nimitz, because I've read his detailed classified battle plans and I went, whoa, this guy was sharp as a tack. Look at this, look at that. He had it all planned out. He wasn't so much of a man of war as he was a brilliant tactician. And my favorite ship is called the Yorktown. And it's the first Yorktown that fought in the Battle of Midway because it took such a pummeling and such a beating. Yeah, it sunk.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. I think we almost had to sink the darn thing. I know it took bombs and torpedoes and all that. And it was listing like that. And Captain Buckmaster, they just kept, I mean, the Americans just kept going and going. And I think it was Yamamoto or it might not have been Yamamoto, but someone stood on the deck of at the start of the Battle of Midway and saw this antiquated machinery coming in at them because the Japanese had superior machines. They're known to make great stuff. I drive a Mazda 626 right now. And it's great. It's a great car. 2002 Mazda 626. But they saw these Americans coming in, and these Americans didn't have a prayer in hell, you know, and they were getting picked off out of the sky. And the guy stood there and said, they thought that the Americans were just fat, white, lazy people. And he went, uh-oh, they fight like samurai. We're in trouble. And sure enough, one thing led to another, and Mr. Nimitz was just like, I hope this works, and the code breakers and all that did this and that and the other thing, and all of a sudden these SPD dive bombers went, Eureka! They're all sitting right there without fighter cover because these guys did that and those guys did that, and oh, well, we lost a lot of good men, but there they are. Oh my goodness! I think that was the Akagi just went up in smoke there. You might want to call the Enterprise the Hornet or the Yorktown. Sir, we just got a hit, and it looks like the fireworks show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
War is, I think it was Winston Churchill that said war is whoever makes the least mistakes. Something to that effect.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting for life.